The marketplace hung like a living organism in the orbit of a dying star. Ships of every size and shape were docked at the sprawling station, their metal hulls gleaming under the dim orange light that filtered through the artificial domes. The air was thick with noise. The hum of engines, the chatter of aliens, the sharp cries of traders, and the occasional clatter of cages being moved. Marcus, a human explorer and rare visitor in this sector, stepped carefully onto the platform. He was not here for pleasure or profit. He had a mission. He wanted to see, to study, and perhaps to change something. The market stretched for kilometers, a maze of cages, stalls, and platforms. Beings from countless worlds were displayed in cages, some glowing softly, others chained with thick alien metals. Some creatures were feathered, some scaled, some seemed almost liquid in form. Traders shouted, trying to draw attention to their goods. Aliens inspected, poked, and even tested some of the captives. But one cage in particular caught Marcus's attention, not because it was flashy, but because it was nearly ignored. Inside, sitting upright despite the rough metal floor, was a young alien woman. Her skin shimmered like liquid metal, faintly reflecting the orange light of the station. Her hair floated slightly around her face as if drawn by an unseen current. Her eyes were golden, sharp, and observant, studying every person who walked by. She did not struggle. She did not plead. She simply watched. The crowd passed her cage almost without a glance. Buyers looked at the more valuable specimens, muscular brutes, exotic animals, creatures that could fight or perform tricks. This alien woman, however, was different. She seemed ordinary, or at least ordinary to those who could not see past the surface. Many assumed her weak, unremarkable, not worth the effort. Marcus felt a strange pull in his chest. He could not explain it, but he knew she was remarkable. He moved closer, careful not to draw too much attention. As he walked past other cages, he observed the reactions of the crowd. Some species looked at him curiously. Humans were rare here, and most aliens did not understand their ways. Marcus noticed whispers ripple through the market, subtle looks of amusement, even caution. A human walking openly into a slave market was unusual, and it carried weight. Finally, he stopped in front of her cage. She tilted her head slightly, her golden eyes locking on his. For a moment, the noise of the market seemed to fade. There was no fear in her gaze, only a quiet challenge, a test. Marcus could feel it. She was measuring him, judging him, and he felt an unfamiliar urge to rise to that silent expectation. The auction began. A bell rang somewhere across the platform, echoing through the domes. Traders started calling out prices, buyers waving credits in the air. Muscular aliens were claimed quickly. Birds of strange colors, rare reptiles, and shimmering energy beings found owners almost immediately. Marcus watched, noting the pattern, understanding why the unusual ones were overlooked. Most buyers wanted creatures that were easy to control or had immediate value. Lyra, the alien woman, did not fit any expectation. Minutes passed. No one bid on her. The traders muttered among themselves, some confused, some irritated. Marcus studied her cage. She had not moved, not even when the other captives were tested, poked, or prodded. Her calm was unusual. It was almost as if she knew something the others did not. Then, without hesitation, Marcus stepped forward. The market seemed to pause. His voice rang out clear and firm over the noise. "I'll claim her," he said. Silence fell. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Buyers stared, traders froze. A human in this market, bold enough to claim a being that everyone else ignored? Murmurs spread quickly. Marcus ignored them. His eyes stayed on hers. Lyra's expression did not change, but there was a flicker of interest, a tiny tilt of her head. A trader, a tall, insectoid alien with multiple arms, approached him. "You, a human?" it hissed. "Do you understand what you are doing? She is not ordinary, but you could be risking a lot." Marcus shrugged lightly. "I understand perfectly. I'm taking her with me." The trader narrowed his many eyes, clearly weighing the situation, but Marcus remained calm, his presence commanding a subtle respect. He extended the credits precisely enough to match her perceived value. "Payment is here. No tricks, no games." After a tense pause, the trader accepted, handing over the cage's key. Marcus unlocked it, stepping aside for her to leave. She did not move immediately. Instead, she studied him carefully, every muscle, every reaction. Marcus felt the silent assessment, and in that moment he realized this was no ordinary alien. She was intelligent, resilient, and strong in ways that were invisible to the casual observer. She finally stepped out of the cage with grace, her movements fluid and controlled. Marcus noticed the faint shimmer of her skin in the low light, the way her eyes seemed to see more than just the physical world. She gave him a single nod, acknowledging him, not as a captor but as someone who had chosen her when no one else would. As they walked toward his ship, the market seemed to react around them. Some buyers whispered, some stared, some sneered. A few tried to call after him, perhaps hoping to reverse the deal, but Marcus ignored them. He had dealt with worse than angry buyers before, and he knew patience and focus were stronger weapons than haste. The path to the docking bay was not simple. Guards questioned his intentions, scanning the papers that declared him a researcher. Hostile buyers trailed from a distance, hoping to reclaim what they considered a lost opportunity. Marcus handled each challenge with calm precision, explaining his mission using logic and showing no fear. Lyra walked beside him silently, observing everything. Her golden eyes occasionally flicked to him, as if noting his courage and cleverness. Finally, they reached the ship, a sleek vessel built for exploration rather than combat. Marcus unlocked the ramp and gestured for her to enter first. Lyra paused at the threshold, her expression unreadable, then stepped inside. She moved through the ship with curiosity, her eyes scanning panels, instruments, and the confined spaces. Marcus allowed her to explore, saying little, understanding that trust was not built with words alone. They found a quiet moment in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the orange haze of the dying star. Silence hung between them, not uncomfortable but full of unspoken communication. Marcus finally spoke. "You're different," he said softly. "I don't see weakness in you. I see potential." Lyra tilted her head, considering his words. "Different is dangerous in this galaxy," she replied carefully. Her voice was calm, measured, but there was an underlying curiosity. "Why would a human care for someone no one else values?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Humans know what it is like to be underestimated. We respect intelligence, courage, and spirit. Those qualities can survive where strength alone fails." She studied him a moment longer, then nodded almost imperceptibly. Perhaps it was acceptance, perhaps recognition of kindred strength. Either way, Marcus felt the first fragile bridge of trust form between them. The next hours passed in preparation. Marcus adjusted the ship's systems, mapped a safe course out of the market's sector, and ensured that no unwanted followers could track them easily. Lyra observed quietly, learning quickly. She asked questions about the ship, the stars, and the humans' capabilities. Marcus answered openly, impressed by her curiosity and capacity to absorb knowledge. By the time they were ready to depart, a small group of buyers had caught wind of their departure. They attempted to pursue, their ship small but aggressive. Marcus calmly piloted through narrow asteroid belts, using the terrain and clever maneuvers to evade them. Lyra assisted, her sharp instincts alerting him to dangers he might have missed. Together, they navigated the chase with skill and precision. Once the danger had passed, the ship entered the quiet void of open space. Marcus allowed himself a brief moment to breathe. He glanced at Lyra. She no longer seemed merely an alien taken from a cage. She was a partner in survival, a being who could see, learn, and act with him. "I do not usually trust others quickly," she said after a long silence. "But I sense you are not like the others." Marcus nodded. "I'm not perfect, but I respect those who earn it. That includes you." For the first time since the auction, Lyra's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Marcus noticed. He realized then that their journey had only just begun, and that this alien woman, overlooked by the galaxy, might change everything, not just for him, but for the universe that had underestimated humanity. As they moved deeper into space, past the dying star's orbit and into the unknown, Marcus felt a sense of purpose stronger than he had ever known. He had claimed her not just out of curiosity, but out of recognition that intelligence, courage, and spirit deserved protection. And Lyra, in turn, had accepted him, not as a captor, but as someone who could see beyond the surface. The stars stretched ahead like a promise, full of challenges, mysteries, and dangers. But for the first time, Marcus did not feel alone. He had someone to rely on, someone whose strength complemented his own, and perhaps in the vast expanse of the galaxy, two underestimated beings, human and alien, could redefine what it meant to survive, to fight, and to thrive. The ship glided silently through the void. the stars stretching endlessly in all directions. Marcus sat at the control panel, scanning the instruments while Lyra moved gracefully through the cabin, her golden eyes reflecting the soft lights of the ship. Silence hung between them, comfortable rather than forced. Both were aware that the events at the market were only the beginning, and the galaxy beyond was far more dangerous than any auction floor. Lyra approached him quietly. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. Marcus glanced at her and smiled. "Somewhere safe, at least for now. Then we figure out the next step. There's a lot you need to know about humans and a lot I need to learn about you." She tilted her head, considering his words. "I have been underestimated all my life," she said softly. "No one thought I could survive, but you see something different." "I see what you are," Marcus replied, "not what others think you are. That makes all the difference." They spent the next few hours examining the ship's systems. Marcus taught her how to navigate the instruments, how to plot a course through asteroid fields, and how to maintain the engines. Lyra absorbed everything quickly, asking insightful questions that demonstrated not just intelligence but understanding. Marcus could tell she was capable of more than anyone at the market realized. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft alarm. The radar displayed a group of small, fast-moving ships approaching from the rear. Marcus recognized them immediately. They were the same gang of slavers who had been at the market. They must have tracked them, hoping to reclaim Lyra. "Buckle up," Marcus said calmly, his hands already moving over the controls. "They're persistent." Lyra did not hesitate. She strapped herself into a seat near the navigation console and studied the approaching ships. "They are fast but not coordinated," she observed. "We can use the asteroid belt ahead to our advantage." Marcus nodded. "Exactly what I was thinking." They maneuvered the ship into the dense field of asteroids. Rocks of varying sizes drifted slowly, but at high speed they became deadly obstacles. Marcus guided the ship with skill, weaving between the stones. Lyra's observations helped him anticipate gaps and dangers, giving them an advantage over their pursuers. The slavers struggled to follow, colliding with several asteroids in breaking formation. After they escaped, Marcus allowed himself a brief smile. "You're better at this than most humans I've trained," he said. Lyra glanced at him. "I've survived worse," she replied simply. "Observation and quick thinking are necessary when no one else protects you." As they left the asteroid belt behind, the tension eased, but both knew the galaxy held many more dangers. Lyra revealed that her people had long been hunted for their abilities. Her shimmering skin was more than a strange color. It was linked to a latent psychic potential, a power few could wield. If trained properly, it could allow her to sense intentions, manipulate energy, and even influence small physical objects. Marcus was fascinated. "That explains why you were ignored at the market. People are afraid of what they don't understand." Lyra nodded. "Yes, they did not see what I could do. But now with you, I can learn to control it safely." Over the next several days, Marcus and Lyra established a routine. Marcus taught her about human technology, navigation, and survival in space. In return, Lyra shared her knowledge of the galaxy, pointing out hidden dangers, celestial anomalies, and areas of strategic importance. They discussed ethics, culture, and the philosophies of different species. Slowly, a bond formed, one of mutual respect, trust, and recognition of each other's abilities. Their journey was not without challenges. On one occasion, their ship was pulled into the gravity field of a rogue planet. The planet's unstable orbit threatened to crush them, and the engines were strained beyond safe limits. Marcus worked tirelessly, calculating trajectories and adjusting thrusters. Lyra used her emerging psychic abilities to sense gravitational fluctuations, warning him of shifts that could destabilize the ship. Together they navigated the planet's danger with precision, saving themselves from certain disaster. Another challenge came in the form of a mysterious alien species. The beings were curious and cautious, approaching with sleek ships that pulsed with strange energy. Lyra's senses detected subtle hostility. They were evaluating her, perhaps seeing her as a potential threat or prize. Marcus prepared the ship for defense, but Lyra persuaded him to attempt communication first. Using a combination of her psychic ability and Marcus's technology, they transmitted signals that conveyed intelligence and intent. The aliens, after a tense exchange, withdrew peacefully, leaving them unharmed. During these events, Marcus noticed that Lyra's powers were growing stronger. She could sense subtle energy patterns in the ship, detect minor fluctuations in the engines, and even influence small controls without touching them. He encouraged her to experiment, teaching her patience and control. "Strength alone isn't enough," he said. "True power comes from understanding and precision." Lyra listened and practiced diligently. She began to trust Marcus completely, recognizing that his guidance was not controlling but supportive. In turn, Marcus learned from her. Her perspective on danger, her intuition about the galaxy, and her calm decisiveness. Each challenge strengthened their partnership, and slowly, what began as a human claiming an overlooked alien became a team united by skill, trust, and shared purpose. One quiet moment, as they drifted through an uncharted sector, Lyra spoke softly. "Humans, you are unpredictable. You survive where others fail. You take risks, but you calculate them. You care even when it seems unnecessary." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's humanity. We are flawed, but we notice potential where others do not, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves." Lyra regarded him, her golden eyes thoughtful. "You could have left me. You could have treated me like others did. But you did not. Why?" "Because you are more than a prize," Marcus replied simply. "You're a being of intelligence, strength, and courage. You deserve more than the market could offer. I respect that, and I want to see you grow, not exploited." Lyra's expression softened. For the first time since the market, she allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. "Then I will stay with you, not because I must, but because I choose to." Their bond solidified further when they encountered a derelict space station drifting near a pulsar. It was abandoned, or so it seemed, but the station's interior was hazardous, filled with unstable energy conduits and damaged gravity fields. Marcus needed to investigate for potential supplies, and Lyra insisted on accompanying him. Together they navigated the station carefully, combining human ingenuity with alien perception. Lyra's powers allowed them to detect weak points and avoid hazards, while Marcus's experience with technology enabled them to repair critical systems. By the time they returned to their ship, they had salvaged equipment, reinforced their defenses, and gained a stronger understanding of each other's capabilities. It was clear to Marcus that Lyra was no longer just a passenger. She was an essential partner. As they traveled further, news reached them of increased slaver activity in the sector. The gang that had pursued them from the market had not given up. They were gathering forces, seeking revenge, and perhaps believing that reclaiming Lyra would restore their reputation. Marcus prepared for the inevitable confrontation. He upgraded the ship's defenses, optimized engines for evasive maneuvers, and ran simulations of potential encounters. Lyra trained alongside him, learning to combine her abilities with the ship's systems for maximum efficiency. When the slavers finally arrived, they underestimated the duo again. Marcus piloted with calm precision, while Lyra used her powers to anticipate and counter their attacks. Ships that had once seemed menacing were outmaneuvered, forced into retreat, or neutralized with minimal confrontation. The combination of human ingenuity and alien abilities proved more than a match for brute force. After the battle, they drifted in quiet space, the stars stretching endlessly around them. Marcus looked at Lyra. "They never saw what you could do. They never saw what we could do together." Lyra nodded, a faint smile crossing her features. "Then we will keep moving forward. The galaxy underestimates us, and that gives us an advantage," Marcus agreed. "Yes, and one day maybe they will see that humans are more than they expect, and that underestimated beings like you and me can change everything." For the first time since the market, Lyra felt a sense of belonging. She was free, but more than that, she was valued. She was seen, and the human who had claimed her when no one else would had proven that courage, empathy, and intelligence were forces stronger than fear or prejudice. Their ship continued on its journey into the uncharted regions of space, each moment a step further into the unknown. Challenges would come, dangers lurked in the darkness, and the galaxy remained unpredictable. But Marcus and Lyra faced it together, a human and an alien, both underestimated, both powerful, and both ready to show that survival and triumph belong to those with courage, wisdom, and the will to act. In the silence of deep space, a bond stronger than any market contract had formed, one that neither slavery nor danger could break. And as the stars stretched on, it was clear that this was only the beginning. Of adventures, of discoveries, and of proving that humanity, when combined with the courage of